Welcome to another episode of How to Make Potatoes. Welcome to another episode of How to Make Dinner. I'm Paula, and today I'm going to make crispy oven-baked potato wedges with a creamy dip, and it's kind of like a sour cream and oniony kind of dip vibe. And that's all I'm gonna have for dinner, and I'm so excited about it. This is a really simple one. I hope you like it. Let's make it. I'm gonna make the dip first because I want it to have a chance to kind of sit, and we're also gonna be cooking the onions a little bit, so I want them to be able to cool. Most onion dips that I see are like a French onion dip using caramelized onions. And I'm not doing that today because I don't have time for that. I don't have all day to caramelize onions. So I have some green onions. So I have about 4 green onions, and I have 1 big juicy clove of garlic. And I'm just going to gently saute that in a little bit of olive oil just to soften things a little bit. This pan is on medium heat. Something about sauteed or charred green onions, it just makes them brings out their kind of grassiness somehow. So nice. I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt. Hi babe. I'm making potato wedges. I'm just gonna sweat these down for about maybe a minute tops. Now that they're really fragrant and I can see that they're a nice bright green, I'm just gonna turn the heat off. That took like maybe 30 seconds. Now with the heat off, I'm gonna add some extra flavors to this. So this is basically gonna become like the concentrated flavor booster that's gonna get stirred into the sour cream. It's gonna be so good. So I have onion powder. I'm using about half a teaspoon. And the reason I'm throwing it in at this stage is because the heat of the onions, a little bit of heat of the pan is gonna just help kind of like pull the flavor out, kind of wake up the flavors a bit in these dried spices or dried powders. I'm gonna put in about half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And instead of salt, I did put a little bit of salt in the onions, but to season the actual dip itself, I'm gonna use celery salt. So I'm using about half a teaspoon of that too. And that's it. So those are all sitting nicely together in this warm pan. Now I'm just gonna transfer them to a bowl and let them cool. There are a few things that I like to do when I'm aiming for a crispy oven-baked potato. Number one is I never use sweet potatoes or yams. I just don't think they were meant to be crispy. I think potato wedges should be made out of potatoes, regular potatoes. Secondly, I like to use a really, really hot oven, like 450 degrees. And I always like to preheat the pan. So get the pan into the oven and heat it with the oven so that it's nice and hot and the potatoes just sizzle right away when they get on there. I have 3 kind of, I guess these are like a Yukon Gold potato, so they're kind of starchy but also kind of waxy. They're right in the middle basically. And I think that's perfect for a wedge because really starchy kind of russet potatoes might fall apart, and they're also kind of like fluffy, whereas these are a little bit more silky and creamy on the inside. I'm gonna cut them into about 6 wedges, so in half and then in 3. Some might go into 4. Yeah, tough call. Depends on how patient you are too, because the thinner they are, the faster they'll cook. I think I might be doing more like 8 per potato. This one's a bit smaller, so it might be more like 6. And a lot of people rinse their potatoes in water before they bake them. I don't. That's all. I just think it's unnecessary, especially when it's this kind of potato. They're not that starchy. I don't bother rinsing them. I'm all about one fewer step. Now that those are all wedged up, I'm going to dress them with all kinds of delicious things. So olive oil, or any oil. And of course, I've talked about this before, but I'm all about the bowl toss. I'm not about the tray toss because A, the tray's in the oven, so it's busy right now, and B, they just don't get coated as nicely. I want every single speck of potato to be nicely coated in everything. I have some dried rosemary here. I love rosemary and potatoes, and I'm just kind of crushing it. This was homegrown rosemary that my friend dried and gave to me, I want to say like a year ago or more, and it's still so fragrant. It's just amazing. Paprika. I love paprika on potatoes. It kind of gives them that classic look. Oh my God. Maybe not that much paprika. Okay, that's good. Maybe don't dump it. And then salt. A good, I'm gonna say probably about a teaspoon for this amount. They're gonna want that salt. And then maybe a bit of garlic powder. I'm gonna dump it into my hand first, which is the best practice. Not dump it right in the bowl. Okay, and then we toss. It's the perfect amount of paprika, actually. See? Delicious. All right, now we just have to wait for the oven to beep, and then we can dump these onto the tray. So now that they're on the tray, I just want to move them around so that they're all making contact with the pan and they're not piled on top of each other. And then they're going back in the oven. While the potato wedges get crispy, we can make the dip. So I've got regular old full fat sour cream here. I'm adding the sour cream to this mixture, which has fresh onion, onion powder, fresh garlic, garlic powder, celery salt, and that's it. And I'm just gonna stir it really well. And then that's it. I think it's gonna taste really good. I wish I had something to taste it with because the potatoes aren't ready yet. Oh, I have a cracker. Mmm! Oh my God, so good. This dip is perfect. The potatoes are gonna be about 15 minutes in the oven before I can flip them over. So I'll see you in a minute. It's been about somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and I think the potatoes are ready to flip, so I'm gonna grab them. Yum. Okay, so yeah, they're looking pretty good. I just need to flip them over. And you know what? You actually don't even need to flip them over. When the pan is this hot, it kind of gets like crispy on the pan side and crispy on the top side, but depending on the evenness of your oven, it's probably best practice to flip them. And they're coming along. So I'm just gonna fire them back in for another 15 or so minutes. Oh yeah, look at these guys. These are perf. Okay, I'm going to transfer them onto this little platter thingy I've got. So some of you might be thinking, is she really just gonna eat like 3 potatoes worth of potato wedges for dinner and a bunch of sour cream dip and nothing else? It's hard to say. I mean, maybe. Let's just say I like to eat a variety of things, and sometimes that includes potato wedges and sour cream dip and nothing else. But that being said, there are a couple other bits and pieces in the fridge that I might dig into, and I highly doubt that I'll work my way through this giant pile of wedge potato. So I've got my dip, I've got my fries, I've got my fizzy beverage. I'm so excited to curl up on the couch and watch some TV and just chill the beans. Maybe I'll try one. They're gonna be so hot. Oh my God, this dip. This dip is something to write home about. It's so delicious. And it's super easy and quick too. I would definitely recommend making this dip and these wedge fries. Just make it all. Thanks so much for joining me today to make these crispy oven-baked potato wedges and this super creamy sour cream and onion dip. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.